Hello, friends. Welcome back. Final hour of the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway right now, 6:07. Thank you for being with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, covering a number of stories for you this afternoon to include this monster hurricane. Does this hurricane have a name? I've not seen.
It's Melissa.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet Melissa. Come on. Say it is.
She ain't sweet.
Say it's not so, Melissa. Cat 5, Ken?
Cat 5, 175 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, that's a doozy. We've not seen many affect the Caribbean or the coast of the United States of America thus far this season, but obviously this one's going to pop the Caribbean, and who knows what happens after that. We'll keep you up to date on it. It's just of interest because it's such a huge, an absolutely huge storm, and you just pray for the folks down there in Jamaica, those visiting, and otherwise the natives down there. They are truly, as they say, battening down the hatches in advance of that incredible storm. In the meantime, there are a number of SNAP beneficiaries that are battening down the hatches in advance of the possibility of losing their SNAP benefits. Here's the interesting thing. I have people in my personal life that, for one reason or another, receive SNAP benefits. And I understand that this is a fail-safe that is designed by our government to prevent people from, truly starving. And I have made my position known on it. You heard it last hour that I believe that we rely far too much on the federal government for these types of entitlements and far too little on where we can appropriately take care of the least of these, which would be charitable organizations, community groups, church organizations, and the like, and obviously family members and friends. That said, I'm not immune from the realities of the world, and I'm not immune from the fact that there are people on November 1st that would be dramatically impacted, and they would have to resort to going to places like, MANA organizations or other sorts of food bank organizations, whether they be church-based or charitable-based, and obviously that is a resource that you should utilize if you find yourself in that situation. So we've been talking about that and keeping you up to date on it. Marsha Blackburn has filed a piece of legislation that would keep these benefits flowing. The Democrats do not wish to do that. And by now I've made it clear that I am sad that there are so many people dependent on SNAP benefits, and I think we should move to try to – it should be our goal as a society to have nobody on SNAP benefits. It should be our goal as a society to not need – to set this money aside through the federal government to try to make sure that people don't go hungry at night. There are way too many people on SNAP benefits, too many able-bodied people on SNAP benefits, but that doesn't mean that for some, it is not absolutely necessary, and they are not, for lack of a better way of putting it, deserving. So we're talking about that. We're also talking about East Wing memories. Memories. In the corners of my mind, misty, watercolored memories of the way things were. Liberals over the weekend expressed their shock and dismay, and they have since the demolition began, that President Donald J. Trump would have the unmitigated goal to destroy such an integral part of American history as the East Wing. I would suggest to you that the vast majority of these same liberals who are lamenting the loss of the East Wing don't know what's in the East Wing. And never did. Did you know that before there have been several, and I pointed them out on my social media platform. Primarily, I'm on the X machine, which is just an absolute awful place. It's a cesspool of awfulness and depravity, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Wallow in it. You can join me there at Matt Murphy Show. Tell a friend or a neighbor about us at Matt Murphy Show. I'm far more coarse on the X machine than I am on this radio program. I mean, that is... Jackson, you follow me, right? I follow you, you follow me?
For now.
Would you say that I'm more coarse on the X?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's fair. So I wrote the following note. Hey, liberals, let's crowdsource our feelings of loss regarding the death of the East Wing. Leave me your thoughts and memories here for archival. Favorite part? Favorite room? Favorite memory? And I got to admit that I'm getting a lot of funny responses, and I'm getting a lot of snotty responses. I'm not getting a lot of real responses, because I would suggest to you that the vast majority of the American people have no idea what has ever gone on in the East Wing. The East Wing, for those who do not know, contains offices for the First Lady and her staff, offices for legislative affairs, offices for calligraphers. That's that fancy writing, Jackson. You know how they do? Calligraphy. You ever seen those folks that can do that fancy? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like that? Yeah. Oh, it's swanky. And I don't know how they do it. They use those fancy $28 pens. It also serves as the public entrance to the White House for visitors that are there on tours and whatnot. It also includes a family movie theater and a home to the Jacqueline Kennedy Garden. The East Wing, originally built in 1902 as an East Terrace and was reconstructed in 1942, containing office space, and at one time it had a pool for Franklin Delano Roosevelt, which was not just recreational in nature, but therapeutic for FDR, as he obviously had his leg issues during this time in the White House. For a long time, presidents of the United States of America have lamented not having a ballroom consistent with the grandeur of the White House itself, and with the space available to hold the type of state dinners and other gatherings that would prevent them from having to go to, quote, big tent and have a tent set up on the lawn of the White House. Instead of applauding Donald Trump in his decision to disrupt activities at the White House for the purpose of building an appropriate ballroom, the liberal Democrats have decided to shame him to the point that Eric Holder, I'm sorry, not Eric Holder. I have another story about Eric Holder regarding the state of Tennessee. Eric Swalwell has written on his social media platform that any Democrat seeking the presidential nomination in 2028, you better listen up. This is from a sitting representative on the Democrat side of the aisle from California, Representative Eric Swalwell. Representative Swalwell says, don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. To which I respond, Democrats, please continue acting like this. Please continue acting like petulant children, throwing a fit. Eric Swalwell reminds me of any number of children that I've seen on the cereal aisle of my Publix grocery store. You know what I'm saying? You see, they want Fruit Loops. They don't want the healthy cereal. They want Cocoa Puffs. They want Count Chocula. They want Sugar Smacks. That's right, I said Sugar Smacks, not Honey Smacks. And when they don't get what they want because they do not have the proper discipline, they throw a fit. And you see the liberal Democrats in Washington, D.C., Eric Swalwell, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the rest of the squad, Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, and then on the Senate side, all of those aged senators. They never thought Donald Trump was going to be president from the first time around. And they sure as hell never thought that he would get reelected, but he did. And they didn't like it. And so now they're stamping their feet. And there is no good that Donald Trump can do, even when the good is obvious and apparent. What liberal Democrat gave Donald Trump credit for ending the war in the Middle East? Have y'all thought about that any time? Have you thought about that for a moment? The evil terrorist organization Hamas attacked and slaughtered Israeli people. Now, I don't care what you think about the state of Israel. We'll set that aside for a moment. Jewish people were slaughtered at the hands of the Hamas terrorists. And the state of Israel responded, and Benjamin Netanyahu responded. And I don't care what you think about that either for a moment. I mean, set aside your belief that it is genocide this and genocide that. There was a tremendous amount of bloodshed going on both sides. Israelis were killing Palestinians in droves. Israelis were killing Hamas in droves. Hamas, in turn, they were killing Israeli people. They were killing the IDF. And what happened? Joe Biden says there was nothing that they could do about it. Just like Joe Biden and his administration promised us that there was nothing we could do about the southern border. There was nothing we could do about the drug problems coming through the southern border. Nothing we could do about the fentanyl issues that were going on in the United States of America. And Donald Trump, like he did on those issues, tackled the Middle East and did something about it. And did one damn Democrat give him credit? Now, there were a few in the mainstream media that gave lip service to the idea that this is a good thing. But otherwise, Democrats just remained silent on what might be the singular greatest foreign policy accomplishment in my lifetime. And I lived through the end of the Cold War. And they give him no credit whatsoever. Similarly, this guy decides to do what everyone in D.C. has said was needed, and that is to build a ballroom. And suddenly, and I should note, the taxpayers aren't going to be on the hook for it. Oh, no. Donald Trump says he'll get others to pay for it. He will get donors to pay for it. So imagine this now. An East Wing that is of no significant consequence to the operations of Washington, D.C. and the White House. Right? There's no Oval Office in the East Wing. This is not the East Room of the official residence. There is no recognition of historical significance or importance to the point that you would want to preserve portions of the East Wing. Donald Trump does something that has long been needed. Swalwell demands that you take a non-taxpayer-funded ballroom that Trump is going to construct and demolish it at taxpayer expense and rebuild what? So imagine this. This conversation, which is a nothing burger, an absolute nothing burger in the grand scheme of things, went from he doesn't have the legal authority to do this. Oh, Donald Trump can't do this. How dare he? Well, he did it. To, oh, he lied about it. He didn't tell us he was doing this, which we have receipts. He most certainly did say that he was altering it. Now, the plans did change. They did change. And what was going to be refurbishment and additions became an out-and-out demolition once the individuals got in there and recognized what they were dealing with. So we go from legality to awareness, from awareness to cost. And when Donald Trump said, well, this isn't costing the American people anything. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to collect money and have others pay for it. And now the liberal Democrats are demanding donor lists. It's almost as if they don't care that some good is being accomplished. It's almost, if I didn't believe any better, all about Donald Trump and every and anything he does being bad. Once again, I wish that Donald Trump would declare his support of oxygen. For if he did, I believe most Democrats in Washington, D.C. would begin the process of holding their breath. I'm going to talk about Venezuela. For those of you who do not believe that I ever criticized the Trump administration, and I know some of you liberals listen for opportunities for me to criticize them, it's about to come because I don't know what we're doing in Venezuela. I don't have a problem with targeted strikes to try to break the backs of the drug cartels. But I think nation building is a bad idea. And it seems that's what we're about to start doing. It's 21 after the hour on Super Talk. There he is. I believe Ken Weaver to be the straw that stirs the drink. I think that would mean that I am the drink. Does that mean that you're the cup, Jackson?
Sure.
Or the ice cubes?
I'd like to be ice.
Speaking of drinks, have you decided what beverages you'll be taking with you on the big excursion this Saturday?
Oh, yes. Lots.
LOTS?
Yes.
That's not a brand name, is it?
Nope. Just a bunch of them.
That's just an amount. That's a categorical amount. 615-737-9986. Robert has a thought on the ballroom. Then we'll get to Ricky. No, hold on, Robert. Ricky's held for a long, long time. Ricky, I apologize for your thank you for your patience. How are you?
Thank you. I appreciate it. You were talking about how these congressmen, senators, and up the ring, they get rich. I think most, I enjoy your show, first thing I want to tell you, and mostly it's through the lobbyists. Directly or indirectly, I think they enrich people, and the government is basically 80% run by lobbyists. They write most of the laws, and I feel like if we ban lobbyists from the Congress, Senate, and limit term to about 4 years or so, then I think a lot of good would be done for the people of this country. Short of that, it's impossible to do anything when they are funded both sides of aisle by these people who give them money, and then they work for them for 2, 4, or 6 years. That's my opinion, Mike.
Well, I love the idea of lessening the influence on the political lobbyists that are in D.C. Ricky, have you had an opportunity to tour Washington or be up there for any length of time?
Yes.
So you know the answer to this, but for those that haven't, some of the most palatial buildings, forget the Lincoln Memorial and forget the White House and forget the Capitol. Those are beautiful, beautiful structures. But some of the most beautiful, palatial, expensive structures in Washington, D.C. are lobbying organizations.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, and they build those incredible structures on the backs of the American people because they influence that much legislation. It's that important to them. So you're exactly right. We need to do what we can within the confines of the Constitution to limit the ability for lobbyists to influence legislation on the levels that they are. I don't disagree with that at all.
Okay, sure. I agree 100% there.
Well, but I think the way that I would start cracking that, though, Ricky, and thanks for your telephone call, and thanks for the patience there. You waited a long time, and I appreciate you. The pesky First Amendment gets a little in our way because we are all, after all, special interests. And we, after all, have the ability, if money is equitable to speech, and it is, we have the ability to pull our money together and to appoint a designee, which would become then a lobbyist, to go and represent our interests to the American government. And that is embedded in the founding of our country. So how do we de-incentivize lobbying? First and foremost, I would pass the fair tax. I believe that with the passage of the fair tax, which is a national consumption tax, you would eliminate, 60% of the lobbying in Washington, D.C. I think it's a guess, it's a wag. That would be a wild-ass guess, but I'd wag that about 60% of lobbying in Washington, D.C. is tax-based lobbying. Lobbying for this industry or that industry to receive some level of tax abatement or tax break or tax loophole for the purpose of giving them overall an advantageous profile regarding their tax rates. Well, you and I know that businesses do not pay taxes, but it is a pass-through, and in the competitive nature of business, they try to lower their tax burden for the purpose of getting a competitive advantage amongst their industry or even against other industry. Well, if you pass the fair tax, then there are no corporate taxes anymore. There are no tax rates to lobby for. Without getting into it this deeply now, I would suggest to you that would eliminate a lot of the trouble. And then we can talk about working on the rest. It's 31 after the hour on Super Talk. All right, real quick on the issue of I got to play this real quick because I promised to do it earlier and I have not done it yet. This is the type of gaslighting that we get with the political left. Give me a little audio, a little video here, Jackson. So before we get back to your telephone calls, it's 38 minutes after the hour. The Murphy Show continues. This is from Nicole Wallace. I guess this is on MSNBC or maybe it's her podcast. I don't know what this is, but it's Nicole Wallace of MSNBC. And it's J.B. Pritzker, who is the governor of Illinois, and he's running for president of the United States in 2028. Make no mistake about that. Jackson, we've well established you're great at what you do. You push the knobs. You control this experience. You make sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as possible. But let's not pretend that the world of politics is necessarily your forte. You are a sports guy, but we're kind of slowly exposing you to the ultimate blood sport. Is that fair? Is that a fair characterization?
Fair.
If I asked you, in your opinion, and by the way, I don't ask Jackson what his politics are. Do I? Have I ever asked you what your politics are?
No.
No, I never have. Because frankly, I think I would be very disillusioned. Because I think Jackson would say something along the lines of, I'm a Vol man or something.
Probably.
You probably like Donald Trump because he's characterized as an orange man, and you like Big Orange.
I like orange.
Yeah. But if I asked you, Jackson, have the Democrats ever compared Donald Trump to Hitler?
Yes.
All right, that was an immediate yes.
Well, I've seen it.
And once again, fair to say that you're not laser, like that's kind of my job. You're not laser focused on the content of all this every day, but you've seen it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Nicole Wallace would like to disabuse you, as they say, of that notion.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. I wouldn't say
I don't
that
think
about-
any Democrat has. I actually and I think it's a smear that they project back on to critics. But J.D. Vance called Donald Trump cultural heroin. He called him America's Hitler. I mean, the attacks on Donald Trump as a fascist came from 3 generals who worked for him. I mean, the most brutal critiques have come from people that have seen him far more closely than you or I.
You see this? You see this? So Nicole Wallace and J.B. Pritzker would have you know that they, the liberals, have never compared Donald Trump to Hitler or a fascist or fascism. That's the right doing that. And they point to J.D. Vance and generals. But once again, they don't want you to believe. Now, I asked Jackson, and I didn't tell Jackson what I was playing. Jackson had no idea what was about to come. I just said, Jackson, have the Democrats ever compared Trump to Hitler? Well, yeah, of course. Everybody knows it. Everybody's heard it. Do not believe your lying eyes or your lying ears because Nicole and JB say.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler. By
the way, JB Pritzker out and out called Donald Trump a Nazi last week.
Wouldn't say
I don't
that
think
about-
any Democrat has. I actually. And I think it's
I mean, these people are repugnant. They are lying liars. I don't think any Democrat has. What? This gets me more animated than anything that I do on a daily basis. That they treat you like Boo Boo the Fool. Nothing will get me angrier than these sanctimonious, holier than thou, my poop doesn't stink, ivory tower, elitist media types like Nicole Wallace, who wouldn't know the real world if it hit her on the back of the head like a Lodge frying pan, telling me that I shouldn't believe what I've seen, what I shouldn't believe what I've heard. No Democrats have. What in the hell are you talking about? Just what in the hell are you talking about? over and 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 over again. This was today. She said that today. So I'll be coming up with a nice montage. Oh, as a matter of fact, hold on. Pull me back up one more. Let me just give you this real quick. I didn't do this montage. I didn't have to. Libs of TikTok did this one for me.
I haven't suggested that Donald Trump is Hitler.
The dangers that we saw in Nazi Germany are the dangers that we need to react to now.
Well, I think everybody understands that at this point we've got an authoritarian in office. It doesn't take very long to tear apart a constitutional republic. Indeed, the Nazis did it in 53 days. That's not the country we live in. You shouldn't have to walk around with papers the way that they did in the early days of Nazi Germany. I do not invoke the specter of Nazis lightly. I'm watching with a foreboding dread what is happening in our country right now. A president who watches a plane go down in the Potomac and suggests without facts or findings that a diversity hire is responsible for the crash. The authoritarian playbook is laid bare here.
How can you possibly compare what happened in Germany in World War II to what's going on here in the United States?
Well, we're talking about the death of a constitutional republic. That's what happened in Germany in 1933, 1934. And we're seeing today that you've got an administration in Washington that's ignoring court orders.
Now, you understand something. You know what J.B. Pritzker would say here? You know what his out is? This is the way these smarmy, elitist, just so-and-sos. Well, I never compared him to Hitler directly. No, you just said that he was the head of an authoritarian Nazi-esque regime and that everything that he's doing is similar to the fashion that Adolf Hitler rose to power in the 1930s in Nazi Germany. Yeah, but I never said he was Hitler. Shut up. Just stop treating us like we're idiots. And this is on the heels of 2 assassination attempts. This is on the heels. They killed Charlie Kirk. They're the ones that's violent. They're the ones that are initiating violence, and they haven't slowed up in their rhetoric. Robert is next. Robert, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no worries. If you hadn't taken Ricky's call first, I would have been upset. I deserve my equal opportunity to be put on hold. Thank you.
Well, you got it. So
I stopped to think about the ballroom the other day, and I got to thinking of what would be the best thing to name it to help protect it in the future. And considering the kind of events that will take place there will be turning points for the future for everybody, I thought, why not just go ahead and name it the Charlie Kirk Memorial Hall? And then I figure anyone tries to touch it after that, it's just the whole public opinion is probably going to go downhill if anyone tries to do anything to it afterwards.
Well, I mean, I get the sentiment of what you're saying. I'm typically against naming national monuments. And this is going to sound odd because there's so many of them in Washington, D.C. that are named after individuals.
I mean, it's just a suggestion. So
No, I get it. I mean, I think eventually it'll be named the Donald J. Trump Ballroom, and then the Democrats will rename it, and it'll become a political hot potato. But I understand the sentiment where it comes from. I don't know that I would agree with that. I mean, I love Charlie Kirk, and I love everything he stands for and stood for. And I understand this moment in time, it's very pressing on us that he gave his life ultimately for the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy. I mean, I would prefer to name it the American Freedom Ballroom or something that doesn't reference an individual would be my preference. Even Donald Trump. I don't think that Donald Trump should name it after himself. I think he will, but I don't think he should. Joel is next up. Hey, Joel, what's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I hope you are.
I think I'm good. I think I know why Trump is messing around in the Ukraine right now. I mean, he's doing it for multiple reasons. I mean, the strikes on the drug dealers, I do think, is to deter drug dealers. Okay, but the recent talk, the sending the carrier group down to Venezuela, he's posturing to basically tell Putin not to think about putting missiles in Venezuela while we're also thinking about putting missiles in the Ukraine. He's not going to do anything. He's just posturing.
Yeah,
That's just my take on it.
No, and I have the same take. My concern is, Maduro is not going to go quietly into that good night. I understand that we would love to see regime change happen naturally, and Maduro is on very shaky ground with his people. He has taken the opulence of that. I mean, well, it was Hugo Chavez that did it. He took over and doubled down on it. But they took the opulence of that country. They took the wonderful opportunities that country had based on its natural resources and other factors, and they destroyed it. And they've turned it into a hellscape. And the people have had enough of it, and the people want new leadership. They are afraid to come out and say it. And I think what we as a nation would love to see, we would love to see that naturally happen, and then we would give an ability to support materially a democratically elected presidency in that country and a revamping of that nation's government. So I do think that that's our effort. And in the midst of all of that, we're trying to protect the American people by destroying the spillover of the narco state that is Venezuela, right?
Right.
And
yes, and there is an opposition lined up to take control, and so he's trying to maybe to shepherd that process and make it the dominoes fall, but he's not. I don't think he's going to directly intervene.
Well, I hope not, because if there is, I mean, the idea is, and Joel, you obviously have studied it enough, you know this. The idea is, it's kind of you break it, you buy it. That if we actively engage in and support regime change, then we owe it to the people that we put into political power or that we allow to ascend to political power to protect them. And that would necessarily involve boots on the ground. And I don't want it. I don't want it.
Right.
Joel, great call. Thank you for making it. 51 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hashtag never CNN. We call it hashtag never CNN because you should never watch a CNN. It is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing, well, garbage. I watch so you do not have to. It is an occupational hazard that I take upon myself and that I put upon my back. Right now, they are referring to, what is it, Hurricane Melissa? That's right. They're referring to Hurricane Melissa as the world's strongest storm in history. Not recorded history, just ever. Which I'm like, how did they know that? But that's what they're referring to it. I mean, I'm sure it's a strong storm, 175 mile an hour winds. I mean, it's an insanely strong storm, and I pray for all of the folks down there. Brian is next up. Hey, Brian, how are you?
How you doing, sir?
I'm great, Brian. Thank you for calling.
So, what I don't understand is why they just don't call it the White House. It's always been the White House, regardless of any renovation, any steps they take. It's 1600 Pennsylvania. That's what it's always been. That's what's going to remain to be. They can modify it however they want. There's no telling what kind of renovation that might happen there.
I agree with you, and hopefully that's what we will do. We will just call it the White House Ballroom. I feel that it will be named after Trump because I feel like I know Donald Trump as well as anybody. And then eventually somebody will rename it or whatever, and we'll call it the White House Ballroom. That's going to wrap it up for a Monday. We're getting out of here. Mark Levin is up next. Until tomorrow's edition starting high 3